Okay, so we're here with Steve Butscher, the driver that you just saw go on that insane ride in his Mustang. And Steve, I'm glad to see you standing here, man. It's good to see you. So, what happened?
Well, I mean, after looking at the video and kind of remembering what happened in the car, it looks like I washed out a little bit on turn 8, went wide and dropped a tire in the dirt. And, usually it doesn't seem like that big a deal, but when you're going, it was 130 on the turn. As soon as I dropped the tire in, I couldn't get back on the track. So it's at that point it was just a passenger in the car trying to keep it straight. And I've always been told you keep it straight off in the dirt there, you don't roll it. So
right.
I guess that's until you hit a berm and go
kamikaze. Right. Steve, what kind of injuries did you sustain in that crash?
When I got out of the car, my side was pretty bruised from the seat, and my back hurt a little bit. But for the most part, I felt fine. I got out, and nothing really ached, and the medics kind of checked me out. They're feeling my spine, make sure there's nothing broken and things like that. But honestly, I felt okay, a bit shaken up and stuff. But later on in the day, I started getting a little more sore. My back was hurting a little more, so I went into urgent care and just talked to the people there and said, hey, you're going to be hurting tomorrow quite a bit. Here's some Vicodin and all that stuff. So I'm like, great, I'll be out for a week or so. So that night, I went to bed and I took an Advil, and the next morning I felt fine. My back didn't hurt, none of the muscles hurt or anything. So it's really kind of a testament to the belts and harnesses and tons and cage and all the stuff that you have in a race car versus a normal car. So.
Well, I'm glad to see you, moving around, man, because that's...
Feel my feet and my arms.
Yeah, that's crazy. We got out some measuring tapes to see exactly how far you went. Obviously, you got a lot of height, but do you know how far you flew?
No, I mean, I heard people saying, oh, maybe 60 feet or something like that, which, in the car, it didn't seem like you went very far. You're up and you roll, and it's over instantly. I never had a good feel for how far I actually went. But.
You flew a total of 70 feet, from the berm all the way to the base of the wall. Perfect 10 textbook exit. You did exactly what you guys are constantly drilled on. People don't know there is always drills that the NASA guys have to go through, and that's basically you have to have everything on, all your seatbelt, your Hans, your helmet, everything, and you have to have your window net up. And then, as fast as you can, you have to get out of the car. And Steve, you performed with flying colors, literally flying colors.
Yeah, it's one of those things you kind of always think about. At least I always did. Getting in the car, it's like if something happens, you got to get out, and you kind of go through it in your mind and say, what do I have to do? What's the procedure I go through? I pull my net down, I shut my main power switch off, and things like that. And, you get out as soon as you can. You never know if something's going to catch on fire or whatnot. So. I got to tell you, there's really no better feeling than hopping out of that car after something like that. You just jump out and you look back and you look at the car and you're standing there and you're pretty thankful. So.
With safety in mind, let's go over some of the things that you did to your car before you started racing that allow you to actually be here after a major incident like this. Let's look at some of the stuff inside your car.
Sure. One of the things that actually kind of helped inspire me to do all the safety gear in this car and help design it was one of the accidents that I witnessed at Willow Springs. I think it was an Evo going through turn 9, flipping through the air, and I was actually out in the parking lot at the time, and I saw the car clear the cars that I was looking at and do a couple flips and land on the ground. And after seeing that, I knew that when I built the cage, I had to survive something like that if I'm going to be racing at Willow Springs and tracks around here.
So you built this cage yourself?
I did, yeah. I spent probably about a year designing it and figuring out what I wanted to do and doing research on a lot of different cars. And I had to make some compromises because I built it all myself. I didn't have all the best tools, but for the most part, it came out pretty much exactly how I wanted it to. So I think the big thing is 1 3/4 diameter, 120 wall tubing, which is pretty much standard. But making sure that you have good nodes that you attach all the bars to, and trying to eliminate bending and keeping most of the bars in, tension or compression. So.
Yeah, I mean, this thing actually hit the wall and then bounced back with energy. It didn't just hit the wall and come to a complete dead stop. I mean, this right here is the section of the roof of the car that actually hit the wall and knocked the wall down into the perimeter road.
Right, and kind of looking around for stress cracks and stuff on the welds, and I haven't seen any yet. Once we start tearing this thing apart, we'll look at it a little bit more, but the welds seem like they held up really well. There's lots of gusseting and additional bars and stuff.
So what kind of seat are you using here?
It's a Sparco Evo. It's an FIA seat, but it's expired, so I have the mandated back brace on it, which, I like the idea of the back brace because it really keeps the seat in line with the belt. And I think, one of the things you don't want is to have your seat moving relative to your belts and losing tension on them and, possibly coming out of the seat. So the seat mount is actually integrated into the roll cage too. So there's a bar that comes down from the harness bar all the way under the seat. The seat belts are attached to the same bar. There's also a bar coming from the center of the X that goes under the seat. So the seat and the harness is pretty well integrated into the cage. I mean, you can also look into the foot support too. That was one of the later bars that I had put in, and that bar pretty much saved my feet there. You can see the tire came into the sheet metal there.
Mm-hmm.
The big thing is the nice 3-inch belts that are well attached to the car, and that's pretty much that and the Hans, I would say, is probably what really kept me from injury.
Well, this just goes to show that well thought out cage and the right safety gear can literally save your life. I mean, this is a puncture hole from a cinder block right here. I mean, how the hell do you catch a cinder block out in the middle of the desert?
Well, hopefully it inspires other people to make sure that their safety gear is the best they can do, and I think that's pretty much how I walked away from it. So.
Well, Steve, this has been very educational, and we are so glad everybody in NASA and AIX Outlaw and Agent 47 are just so happy to see that you're up and running. As far as your personal self, your car,
yeah, not so
well,
much.
your car is fucked, dude. I mean, that's all I can say, but